Hello and welcome to NOBULL. I'm Julian Moffit. I will be your host of this wonderful, fabulous new show that I am bringing directly to you. We're going to talk about politics. Sometimes I might talk about sports, but mostly politics. But no, this is a show where we're just going to get into some cultural things sometimes. But this week was a politically heavy week. Things that happened that had direct effects on our nation. So stay tuned and we'll get into all of that. So the agenda for this week, we've got the two biggest egos on the planet meeting, North Korea, the United States, at a summit. We've also got elections been happening all over the country and what's happening to the conservative party and why it's becoming the party of Trump. We're also going to talk about the Office of Inspector General's report on the FBI's conduct of Hillary Clinton's emails and what they found with that and why it really does no good for either side or for the FBI. We're also going to get into Donald Trump's campaign manager going to jail until his trial date. President's campaign manager is currently in jail. We're also going to talk about something that's happening on our southern border that I think every American should really be concerned about. So stay tuned. In this corner, we've got Kim Jong-un. And in this corner, we've got President Trump. Two leaders, two nations, one summit. Kind of sounds like a movie trailer, doesn't it? Yeah, well, that's like it actually happened. Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump sat down and, talked over things kind of just like nuclear disarmament. If you ask Donald Trump, he'd tell you that it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and also put out a tweet on his way back home saying that Americans can sleep easy. He has solved the North Korean nuclear threat. Now, while he thinks that might be true, we don't know if it is. North Korea has always had a different idea of what denuclearization means as opposed to what the United States thinks it means. And there's even talk out there internationally that Donald Trump might have told that he would, release some sanctions off of North Korea if they even, just moved a little bit towards disarmament. Now, the thing is that we've been here before with North Korea. We've never had a president meet with a leader, but we've got them to the table a couple of times, and each time, same thing happened. North Korea said they would denuclearize, said they were willing to negotiate, and every time when America capitulated just a little bit, North Korea took advantage of that and continued their nuclear proliferation. So we'll have to see. Donald Trump and his ego, is he getting out a little too far ahead of his skis? Now the thing is, he does have people inside of his administration that are actually competent. Mike Pompeo, say what you want about him, but he's trying to move things towards a diplomatic process for North Korea because there's people like John Bolton in his administration that would love to see nothing but smoldering ruin in North Korea. But we have allies there too on that peninsula, South Koreans, who Donald Trump kind of is showing that he doesn't necessarily care what happens to them. He cares about what happens to him. So stay tuned and we'll see how that goes. So this November, we have midterm elections. Now, honestly, before Donald Trump, I really didn't even care about the midterms. But knowing that Donald Trump is now currently the president of the United States, I'm not interested in anything more but what happens this midterms. And it's kind of weird to see, Democrats been picking up election wins all over the country in primaries and even in special elections. In Wisconsin, places where Donald Trump won those election districts by 18 points or more, Democrats are flipping those seats. So, it's been talk of a blue wave out there on social media and everything. Democrats have a lot of enthusiasm. Now, mind you, Republicans, they have a lot of enthusiasm as well. But this isn't the regular conservative party. These are Trump-publicans. These are people that have all sworn loyalty to Donald Trump. They're kicking out the establishment people and, getting people who are more loyal to Trump and will go along with his MAGA agenda, whatever that is. Donald Trump's even been able to just put tweets out there and kind of kill people's election hopes. He just got an incumbent that was up for re-election, lost his primary because Donald Trump put out a tweet about him and said that he wasn't enforcing his MAGA agenda, and he lost. So he won't have his job after November. So, it's kind of one of those things to see. People have conservative values, but these Trump-publicans, they don't necessarily jive with the conservative values of old. They're Donald Trump values. And his values seem to shift from day to day, whatever's politically expedient for him. So, November is going to be a time where you have to make sure that if you're going to want your vote to count, you go do that. Because Donald Trump's America will even, take your voting right away. Supreme Court just this week passed a ruling for the state of Ohio where they said Ohio was able to purge its voter rolls if that person hadn't voted in a federal election cycle for 1 year. They would send out a pamphlet to that person the next election, say, are you still there? Are you still going to vote? And if they didn't get that pamphlet back, then they would wipe them off of the voter roll. Now, say what you want about American politics, but voting should be something that people have the right to do anytime they want to, regardless of whether they voted or not. So, November, what are you going to do this year? But her emails, Hillary Clinton's emails. I don't know if you've been under a rock or anything for the past 2.5 years, maybe even 3. But if there's one thing that anybody knows about politics in the 2016 elections, it's Trump and Hillary Clinton's emails. And the Office of Inspector General, a nonpartisan party watchdog of the Department of Justice and the FBI, finished an 18-month-long investigation into the conduct of the FBI's handling of Hillary Clinton's emails. And lo and behold, they found that there was no bias in the investigation. This is something that Donald Trump isn't necessarily too happy with. He might act like it vindicates him or it exonerates him or proves that there was no collusion, which it doesn't. It just talks about how the investigation was handled and if there was any political bias involved in the handling of that investigation. Now, mind you, it wasn't all pretty for the FBI. There were 2 FBI people in pretty senior levels that were sharing text messages back and forth with each other. They were having an affair, and in one text message, the lawyer, Lisa Page, from the Department of Justice, was messaging her, a little booty call, and Peter Strzok of the FBI, a senior counterintelligence agent, and she asked him, Donald Trump's not going to become president, right? And he said, no, we'll stop him. Now, mind you, the support was long, it was extensive. It was 500 pages, done over 18 months. Now, while they did conclude that they couldn't find any bias in Hillary Clinton's emails investigation, except for James Comey, who was just acting an ass and doing what he wanted to do, as sanctimonious as he was, he acted with no political bias. But they left that little bit of doubt in there about what the conduct was of Peter Strzok because of that text message. And that, just that alone, is enough to keep Donald Trump, people like Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Fox News, all right-wing media going at the Department of Justice and the FBI. It was enough for them to say that there was enough bias, but bias for what? Donald Trump became president. Now, mind you, he's still under investigation. Mueller's still looking into his contacts with Russia. Mueller's still looking into the conduct carried out of his campaign and all the 75 contacts that his campaign associates had with Russians and Russian emissaries. And that investigation has borne fruit. 20 indictments, 5 guilty pleas. Donald Trump's campaign manager is sitting in a jail cell right now. So it's one of those things that, you know, depending on which side of the aisle on, once again, it's polarized. You're either going to say that, look, Hillary Clinton lost the election and was hurt because of the way James Comey acted. Or you're going to say Donald Trump is being put through a ringer. It's a witch hunt because of this one text message that they found that implicated that somebody in the FBI had a political bias against the man who is now president. What do you think it is? He's locked up, they won't let him out. That is Paul Manafort's situation right now. Paul Manafort, Donald Trump's campaign manager for 144 days during the campaign. A time when Donald Trump didn't know if he was going to win. His family actually probably didn't expect him to win. Nobody really thought he had a chance. And he hired Paul Manafort. And Manafort moved some things around, got some delegates behind him, and the rest is history. But now, Paul Manafort, who was out on $10 million bond, was deeply a part of the Mueller investigation, was remanded to prison and will be spending his time there until his trial date that is set in July. Now, what did he do to go to jail? Well, like I said, Paul Manafort was out on $10 million bond, and he decided that he was going to start talking to people that he used to work with, people that were mentioned in his arraignment in his trial previously, people that most people would know not to talk to if they're currently out on bail. But, you know, Paul Manafort did his thing. He used this technique called foldering, where he went and opened up an email and an account and typed something out, saved it in the drafts, and then gave that email account to somebody else, gave them the password so that they could open it up and read it. And those people, the people he was sending the messages to, went to Robert Mueller and said, hey, Manafort's trying to talk to me. And lo and behold, Robert Mueller decided to charge him with more charges, like he didn't have enough. And he was also charged with witness tampering and obstruction of justice, which he pleaded not guilty to, like he did everything else. But, you know, because he was already out on bond, the judge felt that she couldn't do anything else to keep him from not doing things like that other than put him in jail. So, you know, Manafort's going to have a lot of time to think. Is he going to flip like his business partner did? He doesn't have the ability to sit out there and think about it in the real world like Donald Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen. He's sleeping on a bed, probably roaches crawling around, lights out at a certain time. It's not that lavish lifestyle that he's used to. This is very serious for him. Could possibly spend the rest of his life in jail. What's he going to do? We'll find out. This last topic is something that weighs kind of heavy on me. It's a topic that, because it has to deal with immigration, a lot of people say it would be politically charged, but to me it just really has to deal with morality. Donald Trump has a new zero tolerance policy for people that come across the border illegally. Essentially, even if you're coming across the border, present yourself at a border outpost or location to tell them that you're seeking asylum because the country you came from is overrun with drugs or crime or, you know, even criminal governments. If you're a woman, you're running from rape or domestic abuse, they don't want to hear that. If you come across the border, even if you're seeking asylum, you'll be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. If you have children with you, they will be taken from you. The past 6 weeks, about 2,000 kids have been taken from parents along the border. They're putting these children in detention centers. They call them shelters, but these are child prisons. Don't get it twisted. They're also building tent cities on federal bases because of the overflow of children that they have, because they are taking these children from their parents. Children as young as 4 months. Children that are breastfeeding on their mother and they're ripped out of their hands. Mothers are being told, that here you don't have a family and you won't see your family anymore. Just one of the reported things that a mother was told. It's a very dangerous policy, people. You know, there's things that happen in history to where you stop and say, how is it that things got that way? You know, and more times than not, it's because these things happen little by little. You know, Mexicans are called rapists, murderers. You know, they're not talking about all Mexicans. You know, MS-13 is animals. They're not talking about all people that were deported and have come back here. It's one of those things that, where is this policy going to be in another year, another 2 years? Because these tent cities that they're building, they say they're temporary. About 50 children a day are being taken from their parents. So, and it shows no signs of slowing down. This policy is so new, we don't even have the data to know how long it is that these children are being kept there and how long it is until their parents see them again. It's one of those things you have to stop and say to yourself, is this something that I want my America to be? Am I proud to live in this America? Am I proud to be in an America where the UN is telling the US to stop their policy along the border because it's in direct violation of human rights? Is this America that you'd want to be in where it's considering of pulling out of the United Nations Human Rights Council because of this exact policy? Is that something that you want to be a part of? Stop and ask yourself that. Thank you everyone for tuning in this week. This will be something I'm doing every Sunday. I'll probably even be looking for ways to put out more content during the week. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave me comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's things that you want me to talk about on here. Let me know if there's things that you have questions about that maybe I can answer. I am a political news junkie. I consume it at all times. So if there's anything that you want to know about, I won't give you any bull. I'll just tell you like it is. Thank you. Have a good day.
This is America. Don't catch you slipping now.